Today, we will be presenting on our case study, All Play, Some Work, No Proof. As an overview of our study, we investigated how many hours UC undergraduates allotted for activities relating to academic, health, and social life. By developing a balanced score of their annual time allocation, we aim to observe its correlation to graduation rates. Our findings showed a remarkable consistency in these categories. However, the correlation results were determined to be insignificant due to a low variation in the hours. So our research question asks, to what extent do the undergraduate Likert scale self-reports of time allocation predicts graduation rates? From prior background studies, it is suggested that for each of these factors, health, academic, and social, they're all essential for academic performance. Therefore, next slide, we hypothesize that when a majority of students spend a disproportionately high number of hours on any one category, there will be a decline in total graduation rates for that year.
So to prepare our data, we worked with two main data sets, which was the UC Undergraduate Experience Survey and then the UC graduation rates from 2010 to 2018. Next slide. We cleaned and standardized the data using Python libraries like Pandas and NumPy. So we removed any missing values, standardized column names, and also aligned both data sets by the year. And after that, once we clean our data, we use the functions to generate the visualizations and categorize activities into academic, health, and social domains, so the three domains. Next slide. So we used three types. So we used stack bar charts to show how students distributed their time across activity types and time brackets. And then we used group bar charts to highlight the top 10 activities each year. And then line graphs helped us track the trends in retention and graduation rates. So looking at the few examples that we included of our visualizations, it's kind of important to realize that there was almost no year-to-year variation in how students actually reported their time usage, which clearly supports one of our main conclusions in that UC students are consistent in how they spend their time. So the current survey tools may not be sensitive enough to actually detect any meaningful changes.
So once our data was all cleaned up, we could start our exploratory data analysis. In order to make comparisons between the years, we organized all the different survey responses into three big categories: health, academic, and social. We then compared the percentage of time spent in each over the 5 years. And what we found is that students in the UC system are very consistent. Last slide, please. With social activities dominating at around 45%, academics at 33%, and health at 22%. Keeping that in mind, we decided to look for any years with a relatively high imbalance in any single category, and we found a few, but ultimately couldn't draw any conclusions. Next slide, please. Finally, we ran a correlation analysis, but we were very surprised to find that there was actually a very high correlation between a balanced year and graduation. So we ran some reality checks. Next slide, please. And what we found was that because the variance was so low, we were seeing an implausibly large effect size. An effect size that basically said a 1% change in the amount of time a student body spent socializing would result in a 7.6% increase in graduation rate. So ultimately, our correlation was the result of insufficient data and was inconclusive for our overarching hypothesis, although we did find some very interesting data regarding the consistency of UC students.
In examining the UC survey and graduation rates, we recognize that participation and social desirability biases can make self-reports unreliable. Additionally, we avoided casual claims and were transparent about the study's limitations. Our findings show that UC students had consistent time allocation, stable graduation rates from 2010 to 2018 with overall limited year-to-year variation. However, since the data variance and the sample size are limited, we cannot draw any confident links between the time use and graduation rates. And thank you so much for listening.